Shalom, shalom, family.
Shalom.
Sergeant will be getting started with everything soon, so let's get there. Everybody in the room, getting everything started.
Shalom. Yabashima Shabrakatah. All right, so I'm gonna play a camp video for about a couple minutes, and then we're gonna get started. Everybody comes in.
Son and towards her daughter, but I will be evil towards the husband and her sons and daughters. How you get into a fight and punch somebody's baby in the face, man? A baby to me, the baby looked no more than maybe 18 months. I don't even think the baby was 2. Might have been 8, 9 months. You know, some of these babies are big. And punch the baby up, but that's how ratchet and a damn demon even, man. That's why the Lord gonna kill 2/3 of these no good Negroes and Negrettes. Damn shame, man. I remember there was rules to the game, man. Like, nah, you know, take it with his son, leave him alone. You know what I'm saying? They got children, I catch him another time. You know what I'm saying? Or you just like innocent people and children was off limits. Nah, I catch that. Even what was that movie? Scarface. Even Tony Montana was like, I don't kill no kids.
Right.
I don't kill no kids. You want to blow the car up? Right, the drug lord, he want to blow the car. He said he got his wife and his children. He said, women and children are off limits.
Right.
He said, we out there, we'll catch him another time. But the man, I don't kill no kids, man.
Right.
I don't kill no kids, man.
All right, Kaka, keep going.
He said, now look at you. Now look at you now. Right there was some rules and morals to it, man. That's what happened out in Chicago. The brothers were breaking it down to me. They said, man, all the OGs got locked up and the youngins just running wild. There's no rules with the youngins.
Right.
And he said, before you used to have to get permission to kill somebody.
Right.
You used to have to get permission to even jump somebody or beat somebody up.
Right.
But even sometimes the OGs, they even regulated a fair fight. Like, yo, all right, you and that nigga gonna square up. Yo, that's what's gonna be. They're gonna get your anger off your chest, and that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. You couldn't just go like, yo, and you got found out that you killed somebody that wasn't sanctioned, you got dealt with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now it just no holds barred, man.
Right.
The morality of our people have declined drastically in Babylon in 2025. Now you ratchet ass, big fat, pork eating swine, big mama's house, damn Eve, you get into a fight and you can't get to the girl, so you punch a baby in the face.
All that swine in their blood.
The blood, man, just making their brain cells.
Right.
Oh my goodness, man, just jacking them up. But that's how people are, man. That's how people are. You become degenerate, man. Let's get that, matter of fact, Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2 and start at 19. All right, we become degenerate as a people, man. Even when I was in the world, man, I never thought about doing that to somebody's kids, man.
Right.
Even if I had, it was like life or death beef. Somebody, I ain't thinking about their children. Even now, I do like these wisdom on Friday. I do like these little lives on Facebook or Instagram sometimes. And I was like, yo, man, whenever you got an issue with somebody, you don't be mentioning their children and their spouses, man.
Right.
They ain't got nothing to do with it, man. Especially if they got nothing to do with the issue. Why you bringing up, who biggest Betty mamas, man?
Right. What they got to do with it?
No pun intended. Me and Allah was just talking about that last night.
Right.
But you so obsessed with a person. It's one thing to have a beef or an op or you got to fight or whatever the case may be.
Right.
A lot of people always find an excuse to be against each other. It's one thing to have an issue with somebody. But even the scriptures tell you how to deal with it. All right, read that, King. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 19. Thy own wicked, and you give me Matthew 18:15. Read. Thy own wickedness, God, shall correct thee. See that our people, their own wickedness shall correct thee. I don't know if y'all saw that video where these two Jakes, they try to rob the Jake.
Right.
They flipped the brother on the ground, and the brother shot him from on the ground. They thought they had him. They crept behind him. They was gonna try to rob him. They crept behind him and they grabbed him by his leg and flipped him over. He flipped to the ground, pulled that thing, and clapped both of them.
Some John Wick stuff.
See that? You thought you had him on the ground.
Right.
You thought you was gonna sneak him, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
The equalizer.
Right? So the Lord said, you went to rob. You thought he was gonna be an easy pick. And a lot of times, after a cat robbed you, they'll still kill you or shoot you.
Right.
So they probably thought he was gonna be an easy pick. They might have was going to, beat the brother up or hurt him or shoot him, and he caught their ass lacking.
Right.
But read what you got, please.
And thy backslidings shall reprove thee.
And your backsliding shall reprove thee. Come on.
Now therefore, and see that it is an evil thing
It is
and
an
bitter,
evil thing and bitter, God.
that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God.
That is an evil thing and it's bitter will be turned from the Lord. And that's what all this is happening to our people. All this is happening to our people because you turn from the Lord. Back on.
And that my fear is not in thee.
Now what?
My fear is not in
The
thee.
fear of the Most High is not in our people. Our people love folly, man.
Right.
That's why the Jake on the Super Bowl party in Philly, the Jake climbed up to the light pole,
Right.
yelling and screaming, and the nigga fell down and broke his neck and died.
Right.
See, at the most I said, you want to tempt me? The man climbed up on a light pole and up on a light pole, dancing and yelling, yeah, Philly, you're Philly the Eagle, yeah. The blood, nigga, you gonna fall and break your neck and die. Right? Read what you got, King. Read. Read. Now people are simple as hell.
Them
man.
Philly demons are special, man.
Yeah, listen, they did a
Yeah, man.
no, they did a YouTube video. They
Right.
said, "What's wrong with Philadelphia Eagles fans?"
Yeah, yeah.
Something's actually wrong with. I'm talking about
Right.
Edomites, Jake, all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
They were smacking the Chiefs fans in the head,
Yeah, yeah.
taking their hats off and kicking them.
Them
off.
demons in Philadelphia are some extra special demons.
Yeah, man. There was like
Yeah,
and I'm talking about this is in New Orleans.
right.
These are the Philadelphia people that
That came out there. Yeah,
And the caption, the video, the title was, "What's wrong with Philadelphia Eagles fans?"
right. Come on.
And they were doing like, some of the Chiefs fans were like, "All right, y'all won."
Yeah, yeah,
Like, y'all won. They was like smacking them and beating them, spitting on them.
yeah,
Yeah, remember the one that she had the voodoo doll? You saw that?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Come,
when she had the
come,
voodoo doll?
come.
What was that? The Chiefs quarterback?
Yeah, the chief
Yeah,
quarterback.
the voodoo doll.
Patrick, and she was dead.
It's wrong with these people.
She
man.
was dead serious too.
She was dead serious.
Yeah, it wasn't even a
She
joke.
was dead serious.
Yeah.
That's why one of our elders, I think one of our elders from One West, he was saying, he said, like, when a sport shut down, that's going to bring a lot of attention from the race war.
Right.
Because a lot of these Edomites and Jake, they get their anger and stuff off on them football games.
Come,
games and stuff.
come.
They get their frustration and like their energy off.
Right.
They, oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You saw me, what they call it, tailgating?
Tailgate.
And they have I got you, brother. And they got no shirt on.
Right.
It's 19 degrees with no shirt on.
Right.
And now,
Like a caveman.
that's it. It ain't that serious.
Yeah.
This nigga Gilly running around doing his bugged out.
You see with his big hat?
that big ass hat, man.
Because you know what that hat signifies?
Uh-huh.
I'm a baby.
Yeah.
Because if you put a regular size fitted cap on a baby, it'll be real big.
right,
So he's making himself look like a baby.
with some dumbass dance he doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, come on, man. But you got to be a court jester for them.
Right.
Cause they gave him $1 million for that, $100 million, whatever, for that podcast.
Right.
So now he got a coon for Esau,
Right.
just doing the Gilly Philadelphia Eagles dance. Some big,
Yeah.
with some big dumbass hat on, man.
Right. Right.
But it's too much folly, man. Read, King.
Thy own wickedness shall correct thee.
Right, so you want to climb up on a damn pole and for your Super Bowl celebration, and you fall out and break your neck.
Mhm.
Right, read, King.
And thy backslidings shall reprove thee.
What the Lord say?
And thy backslidings shall reprove thee.
God.
Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God,
God.
and that my fear is not in thee, saith the Lord God of hosts.
Saith the Lord God of hosts. I guess the question was.
Yeah, wasn't that important?
Right, God.
So-
We're
so-
not on your time.
Yeah. So lucky I'll take his place. Joe Rogan has an interesting topics that come up because he's dealing with a lot of psychology and stuff like that. So he broke down. It was a show. I can't remember who was the guest. They broke down like why do people act like that because he was bringing up the Philadelphia incident. He
Right.
says, in our human mind, the way as we would know it, how the Most High created man,
Right.
we are naturally ready to go to war.
Right.
So a football game, or like in Europe, the soccer games, it brings out the warlike nature in a man.
Right. Right.
So when we're watching you're watching a battlefield, which is the football field,
Right.
and it's like a simulated war.
Right.
So it brings out whoever's on your team. That's who you go into war with.
Right.
So that is a psychology behind why people can get so crazy over and kill over sport,
Right.
because it triggers it. Human brains are wired to be war. Men are wired to go to war.
Right.
So this is like a simulated war, and it comes out physically sometimes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Bring it
You
out.
just said the same thing with hockey.
Right. Hockey.
You know,
Yeah.
them hockey players, a lot of them,
Right.
they two front teeth.
Yeah. They can, because they allowed to fight
Right.
legally. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. They won't get fined. So that spirit really comes out of them in that hockey game. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That spirit, man. It's just bugged out. Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bugged out spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, But I remember that's like the way you're breaking it down with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I remember one of the elders saying that. He was like, look, when these sports and stuff get shut down,
Mhm.
that's gonna bring out a lot of aggression in
Right.
people, man. That sports is actually a way for them to let off. Like
Right.
you said, they let off that war steam.
Right.
Naturally, to go to war. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, damn, but it ain't that serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember I used to play Little League.
Right.
League baseball. Right. I was never really into sports, but if I had a sport, it was baseball.
Right.
And like I remember one time, like we beat this team, and it was like the team, they had like the best record in the Little League.
Right.
They
Right.
had like 10 wins and 1 loss.
Right.
And we beat them that one time and they won the fight.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
One dude told me like, yo, you lucky, man. I'm telling you, you lucky, man. I'm about to hit this thing in the head with a bat.
Right.
Like, what you mean I'm lucky? Lucky what?
Right.
Like, which I escaped death? What do you mean? Because
Right.
I pitched the game. That's
Right.
what happened. I pitched the game.
Right.
And them niggas ain't get no hits. It was
Right.
a no-hitter. Right? And we beat them like 4-0, something like that. But I was like, I'm like, oh, good game, guys, whatever. But
Right.
I'm like, they got the top record in the league.
Right.
They
Right.
got the top record. What are y'all mad about?
You don't want to take no L's.
Y'all won the game and these niggas won the fight. I remember, and the coach was like, yo, don't worry about it. I'm like, because now I'm more happy and like, yo, it was a good game. Yo, we won. But now I'm flipping into like, yo, do I got to bat one of these niggas?
Right. Right.
That's serious. It's just a game.
You're like, I don't want to take no L's.
Told me, yo, you lucky, man. What you talking about? I'm lucky.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's how people are, man.
Yeah, all praises. Shalom, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Wednesday Wake Up Call. I'm your host, Kasadia. All right, get everything in order right here. Also, we have Clubhouse in the building. Shout out to Clubhouse. Clubhouse is going to be rocking with us today and for the near future. All right. So, with that in mind, we're going to get started. Yeah. All praises. All right. So, we're going to get started. First, let me have to go over. This is a Fair Use Act. All right. Fair Use Act. This video is protected by the Fair Use Act. It's a teaching moment, thus being protected by the Fair Use Act. This is for educational purposes only. All right. So let's get started. This class is called What Kind of American Are You? Or What Type of American Are You? Remember Leave the World Behind? That the movie came out on Netflix, where it was pretty much I believe it was Leave the World Behind. One of them apocalyptic movies that just came out, and it said, the guy said, I'm American. I'm American, right? Asian dude. And he said, what kind of American are you? What type of American are you? So we're getting into that realm and in that time period where people want to ask you that question. What kind of American are you? You a MAGA American? You a Biden American? You one of them Hebrew Israelites I seen on TV, American? You know what I'm saying? Because believe it or not, we are inching extremely close to civil war right now. And of course, this will be my first civil war. So, I might not know all the ins and outs of what happens in the beginning of a civil war, during a civil war, after a civil war. I read things in history books and so forth and so on. I could see what's going on in other countries, but it's my first one, you know what I mean? Kind of excited. But ironically, there's people actually, follow these things and know what happens before, during, and after. So we're going to watch one of those people talk today. Let's first start with a scripture. All right. Second Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 14. Because the scriptures is clear. The scriptures are clear, and it's going to go down in America. You can see the prequel. You can see the beginning stages. When your president, the president of the United States, uplifts known murderers, you know what I mean, that killed what they call people of color, right? Kyle Rittenhouse, he's invited to like State of the Unions now. Daniel Perry, that choked out the brother that was going through a mental health crisis in New York, got acquitted. Both of them got acquitted. We knew that, but got acquitted and is hanging out with Trump. You know what I mean? It's, hey, let's hang out with JD Vance and have a few beers. What have you done in your life? Well, I killed a black man. That's good enough. That is good enough to get into the room with the president of the United States and his vice president and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So that just leads you, anybody that's paying attention, man, if I want to make a name for myself, this is what I need to do. Actually, the woman, she wants to be a man, that shot up the Covet House, I believe that was in Tennessee. Not sure, but she shot it up, and she came out. They were looking for a motive. Why you just kill a bunch of children? She said notoriety. Being honest. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people out there that just want notoriety, and the president and his minions are giving them that opportunity. To get notarized, to be not infamous but infamous. They said in Three Amigos. Infamous. That means more than famous. That was a movie line. Anyway. So people that just want that type of recognition know how to get it. And this is the beginning stages of a civil war. Civil War 2.0. All right. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. Okay, so destruction's coming to this world. You understand? People are going to fight against each other. One people shall fight against another people. All right. There shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. It's important to notice sedition, right? Conduct or speech. See what's going on right now with Elon Musk and Donald J. Trump and anybody else in his cabinet, Stephen Miller, right? Known white supremacists. They are right now conducting speech. They are conducting speech, inciting people to rebel. These DEI hires are ruining our country, right? And then you find out that the DEI hires is majority just white women. But in their mind, it's all us. We're the reason why planes keep crashing, falling, and, sinkholes are opening up all over the country. It's got to be these DEI hires. So what do? Fired everybody, right? And now we find out today that Elon Musk is getting fired. Do you see how that works? You see how God, look at God. You know what I'm saying? He should be leaving his office by the end of May. We was like 2-3 months. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think he can collect unemployment. You know what I'm saying? With that type of job history. But Elon Musk is leaving. All praise to the Most High. But we'll just keep an eye on that because he never trusts Esau. He might be leaving to go down to his bunker because he knows something that we don't know. But we'll figure that one out now, won't we? If it be the Most High's will. All right. But that's what he's constantly doing. He's constantly inciting inflammatory speech, telling us how the poor white man over there in South Africa is going through so much trouble. Well, what the hell are you doing in South Africa anyway? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you realize that, but you probably can get cancer out there because that sun don't like y'all too much. So what are you doing there? You know what I'm saying? But nobody talks about that. It's all about how they're getting mistreated, and this, that, and the third. And then Elon put in a call to have them brought over here. You know what I mean? Like political prisoners. Don't worry about Haiti, not Haiti, and any country that might be a little bit darker. But these Edomites that are living in South Africa need our help. So he might just quit his job to build them up for the army that he wants to have, or the fact that he's firing everybody and people are burning Teslas and having protests in front of Tesla dealerships. That might be the reason why the government's like, you're a bit much. You know what I'm saying? We kind of need like a political atmosphere, not too high, not too low. You're on go all the time, and your tweets are, they're associated with the U.S. government. Which, if we're trying to say we're not racist, and we can't do that no more. All right. So he's gone, but keep in mind. Let me switch everything up. But keep in mind that his damage is done, you know what I mean, for the most part. And he's not completely gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he'll be hanging out with Trump, and they'll do whatever the things that white supremacists do, right? But for right now, the man that was firing everybody is now fired. Go get him, God.
Hold on. Salaki, what's up, boss? Elon Musk is fired?
There's a rumor going around that Trump talked to his top officials, saying that by May, Elon Musk will be gone.
May? Well, yeah.
God.
I knew the egos, man. I knew the egos was gonna clash.
God. All praises. Get him out of here. All right. So this video talks about the warning signs of civil war. And then when you look at it, you're like, you know what? Yeah, we're there. You understand? We're definitely there. But let's check this out. Civil War 2.0.
Talk of civil war used to be the stuff of history class, or maybe speculative fiction. But today, scholars of history and political science now openly discuss the possibility of a new American Civil War. My next guest, Professor Barbara F. Walter, is an expert on civil wars around the world. She has spent years advising the CIA on the subject. In her work examining the seeds of civil war in distant lands, she started noticing some of those warning signs close to home right here in America, long before most others did. She's been sounding the alarm about the threat since at least 2008, and her message today is that we should not ignore those warning signs, but also that we can take steps to lessen the threat. Now, before she joins us, let's take a minute to dig into her findings. Walter's research looked at which countries were most likely to experience political instability and political violence in the coming years. Her work identified two key factors as highly predictive, and America checks both boxes. The first is anocracy, a term for a weakened democracy that contains elements of autocracy. The second is whether citizens have organized politically around identity as opposed to ideology. That means they make political choices based on factors like race, ethnicity, or religion. Walter's research found that both of these predictive indicators have been rapidly emerging in the United States in recent years. She writes that Donald Trump embraced identity politics explicitly and with gusto. To quote her, she says, "No Republican president in the past 50 years has ever pursued such an openly racist platform or championed white evangelical Americans at the expense of everyone else." That's a quote from Barbara Walter. For a long time, Walter found it difficult to get people to take her warning seriously until January 6th, 2021. That is when Americans started paying closer attention. On that day, Trump told his supporters to fight like hell, and they would follow through with armed, sharpened flagpoles and stun guns. Most were white, most were men, Walters writes. January 6th was the grim outcome of one of the most divisive elections in U.S. history, and yet somehow it feels as though an even bigger powder keg has been building ever since. Crucially, Walter urges us to rethink our assumptions about civil war, not just its possibility, but also what such a war might look like. This is disturbing stuff. She warns us that civil wars are not typically started by the groups most people expect, the poorest or the most marginalized. Instead, they are often ignited by groups that were once politically dominant, but are now in decline. Today, the U.S. is undergoing major demographic shifts, transitioning from a majority white Christian nation to a majority non-white population that's expected to happen by 2045. This shift means that those who no longer hold a majority of the vote could lose political power. According to Walter, a new American civil war would likely be a war of insurgency fought by militias using guerrilla tactics, including terrorism. Those groups would avoid engaging directly with the military, instead targeting civilians, Black churches, synagogues, federal judges they deem hostile. America, she warns, cannot afford to keep putting off this possibility. A subset of the country's population has long enjoyed privileges and power, and they're not going to let go without a fight. Some of them are not going to let go without a fight, she says. In her book, How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them, Walter writes, quote, "No one wants to believe that their beloved democracy is in decline or headed toward war. The decay is often so incremental that people often fail to notice or understand it, even as they are experiencing it. If you were an analyst in a foreign country looking at events in America the same way you'd look at events in Ukraine or the Ivory Coast or Venezuela, you would go down a checklist assessing each of the conditions that make civil war likely. And what you would find is that the United States, a democracy founded more than 2 centuries ago, has entered very dangerous territory. The United States is an anocracy for the first time in more than 200 years. Let that sink in. We are no longer the world's oldest continuous democracy. The question for America moving forward is whether voters can be persuaded that their democracy works and is critical to their safety, and whether leaders will choose to reinstate its guardrails." That is a quote from Barbara Walter, who joins me now. Barbara F. Walter is a professor of international affairs at the University of California, San Diego. She's the author of the book, How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them. I want to talk to you about both those things, how they start, but really specifically how to stop them, because we don't want to see this happen in this country. Your book was published in 2022. How have you observed how things have changed in America since then? Are you still as worried as you were when you wrote those words that we quoted?
I'm still as worried, but for slightly different reasons. It's been a really interesting path since 2022, or actually 2020. When I wrote that quote about America no longer being the longest continuous democracy, when we entered the anocracy zone, that was after Trump's first term. That was at the end. It was right after the 2020 election, when for the first time in American history, a sitting president refused to accept the results of an election and was actively trying to overturn them. That put America in the anocracy zone. Then we had January 6th, and everybody was wondering, okay, what's going to happen? And to my great happiness, Trump did leave office. We had a relatively peaceful transition, and we had a new administration in the White House that actually believed in the rule of law, believed in democracy, and America's democracy score rose. So we got out of this anocracy zone. Today, we're back in it. So, and we're back in it, and we're likely to drop further than we were at the end of 2020. And that's because the second Trump administration is now actively going after many of the pillars of democracy. It's not respecting the rule of law in many cases, especially in terms of due process. These students who've been taken off of the streets and who've been detained and who have been sent to detention camps, they have all the legal rights of Americans, and yet the Trump administration is not honoring that. So there's a whole series of things that this administration is doing that is weakening America's democracy further, and we are declining. We are back in this anocracy zone.
You talk about the anocracy zone and the democracy score rising or falling. Could you just explain where that comes from? That this is just not your opinion, that there are a group of analysts and national security analysts here and elsewhere that actually look at democracies and they rate them.
Yeah, so I wrote this book because I'd served for 5 years on a task force run by the US government. It's called the Political Instability Task Force, and it's been around since 1994. The goal of the task force was to help our government, the US government, predict what countries around the world were likely to experience political instability and violence within the next 2 years. So the task force was comprised of two types of people. Half of them were experts on conflict and violence like myself. We were scholars and academics, and half were data analysts. And when the data analysts put together their predictive model, they asked the experts to give them every possible factor, every hunch we might have about factors that might lead a country on the path to civil war. And we gave them things like whether a country was poor, whether it had lots of immigrants, whether it was ethnically and religiously mixed, everything that we possibly thought could matter. And there were 38 factors. And as you mentioned earlier, when the analysts came back with their model, they said only 2 were highly predictive. And we, the experts, were very surprised. They were not the 2 factors we thought would be important. We thought it would be important if you had a population that was really angry at the government because it was really poor, or if you had groups that were heavily discriminated against. Those would be the people who would organize and rebel. And it turns out they're not. They're not. It turns out, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it turns out that America was, to your surprise, had these predictive indicators. And people listening to this might be thinking, this can't possibly happen here. But one of the things that you've seen in your studies time after time, when it does happen in other countries, that people weren't expecting it. So yes, God forbid that something like this ever happens here. So what can we do to prevent something like this from happening? And you've noted that social media has accelerated the conditions in the United States. So what role does social media play, and what can be done to bring this sort of predictive possibility to tamp that down? Yeah. So we'll be looking at a brighter future.
Michelle, I used to think and this is still true, the simplest and easy way to tamp this down, to reduce the risk of political violence here in this country, would be to regulate social media. It's such an accelerant in terms of accelerating Americans' distrust of democracy, therefore leading to the demise of democracy. It sows division within our country. It promotes sort of hate and anger. It gets people feeling as if they're threatened all the time, which makes them distrustful of each other. I no longer think that's the path forward. And that's because the 5 biggest tech companies in the world, all of which are in the United States, have resisted any sort of regulation in any way. They're not even willing to enforce their own content rules. So we're not going to get reform on social media anytime soon. I increasingly believe that the way forward has to come from the bottom up, that American citizens have to want and love and defend their democracy on their own. One of the things we also know from decades of really great scholarship is that protest and peaceful resistance works. Think about the civil rights movement. I mean, I think if you'd asked anybody, would African Americans, especially in the South, will they ever get full and equal rights of American citizens? Most people would have said no, but through patience and peaceful resistance and just pushing forward, they made enormous gains. And white Americans are going to have to do that today in order to save their democracy. So I think it has to be peaceful protest. And then the second thing, and we're seeing this now in real time, don't voluntarily comply with orders that are illegal. Don't help Donald Trump implement his agenda. Allow the rule of law to allow the process to work. Don't preemptively comply.
Okay, so as Esau will tell you, Civil War is on its way. You know what I mean? You see the precursors already. And like she's saying, social media fuels this, right? And saying, you know, it needs to be regulated. Ironically, the only people that get regulated is us when we say we're God's chosen people and so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the real Jews according to the scriptures. That video will get taken down, you know. That will get a strike. That's inflammatory. Yet you can see Donald Trump and Elon Musk spewing their hatred all across the four corners on the internet, on Truth Social, on X, and no problem. You know, we put up a video or a picture of, say, one of the postcards that the Edomites used to make when after we're swinging from a tree and they take a picture and all the smiling kids is around the dead body. You know, that right there is that goes against the guidelines, you know. But if you want to see Jake shoot it out with each other in front of a Queen's Deli, I could type that in right now and watch it. And you can see his body twist up and tighten up as life is leaving his body. We can watch that. Us killing each other, viral. Them killing us, community guidelines. So we understand where we're at, right? And what's something interesting that she said was, for the most part, people that are going through this, they didn't think that it was going to be a civil war. You know, it didn't seem at the time that it was going to be a civil war. And you can see that a lot with our people. They're like, what do you mean? They love us, you know? There's no reason for Esau to do anything to us. Like, where's Cash Cow? He actually said that too. Trump said that's why he's doing his tariffs, because America is their cash cow. And when you look at who buys everything in America, you know what I mean? They call it liquid gold. As soon as we get money, it just goes right through our hands, right? We spend it on everything. We buy it all. You know what I mean? So those tariffs, calling America his cash cow, and the person that buys everything is so-called blacks, talking about us. All right. Let's continue on. Okay, that was the top story. Right now, let's get into chariot news. Okay, so apparently chariots have been seen throughout the skies everywhere you go, and they are caught on camera at times, right? So this one story, I don't have the one from Lebanon. So Lebanon and Daytona, Florida, I guess Daytona Beach. I don't know if there's a difference between Daytona Beach and Daytona. So we'll just call it Daytona. Seeing the same thing rise out of the sun. I mean, Slakia, rise out of the sea, the ocean, the waters. Okay, it looks like a sun. When you first see it, you're gonna say, I ain't nothing but a sunrise. But she's saying, like, Man, it is 10:30 at night. The sun is not rising right now, and the moon rose a couple hours ago. There's the moon over there. What is that? All right, and it's Eve. She might use some choice words, so you know you might want to earmuff it. You got the kids in the room. You know, Eve is snapping a little bit, but it's amazing because I don't have, like I said, I don't have the Lebanon video, but it looks exactly the same. So over there in the Holy Land, right, so-called Middle East, you see a huge chariot rising out of the ground. You're like, Lebanon's not the Holy Land. Listen, in that region, okay, you can see a chariot rising out of the water. I don't know if it's Jordan, I'm not sure. But in Daytona, you see the same exact thing. You tell me what it is. All right. Let's get Ezekiel 1:1. And to everybody on Clubhouse, I believe the videos will be shown at the top. So you'll be able to possibly see the video that we're looking at, because I can give you a description, but you can't see it. But if you do go on YouTube, it'll be HOI News, and you can see the actual video. And yeah, and also YouTube page Sirach 20 verse 6. This playlist is under WWUC parentheses 43. So it's Wednesday Wake Up Call 43. You can see all the videos. All right. Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, I was among the captives by the river Kebar, and that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. So we understand that this is a major sighting, right? That Ezekiel witnessed a wheel inside of a wheel. He gave you descriptions, what the inhabitants look like, how mighty and powerful they are, their feet, everything. You know what I mean? Really, really detailed accounts, right? They move like lightning, flash of lightning. So let's look at this vision of God that Eve seen in Florida. And think about Florida. Florida is an interesting place. Florida, you had the Seminole Indians there, oppressed by Esau, of course. You know, Jake, Judah was given as the children given to gators, called gator bait. You know what I'm saying? Florida to this day is one of the most racist places in the world. You go down there, they got Plantation, Florida. They don't even hide it. You know what I'm saying? They don't hide in Florida. You know, some places that, you know, it's like, oh, we're not too bad. Florida's like, we're worse than you can ever imagine. You know what I'm saying? So to see this chariot in Babylon, in a place like Florida, and to see almost the same exact thing in Lebanon is a sign. Okay, let's play the video. Like I said, Eve got a couple choice words. Just a fair warning.
Oh my God! What the fuck? What is it doing?
Look, I'm recording it.
I can't do it.
They flying around. There's 2 lines now.
Oh, it's flying around me. It's flying around me.
They see there's 2 lines now.
It's so many of
My
them.
heart is beating.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let me get out there.
My heart coming out my chest right now, bro. My heart coming out my chest right now.
Now, I got real alien activity going on. They circling that it came out of the ocean. That is not a moon. It is not a sun. It's 10 o'clock at night. I seen it come out of the ocean, y'all. There are fucking ships. I don't know what the fuck these are. They're flying around it. They're circling it. There's one above it. There's one on each side of it. There's one right there. There's one right there. Y'all can't see them. I don't know if y'all see them blinking. Do you see them? Okay, they're going towards that. We seen it come out of the fuck.
All right. So yeah, he was snapping over there. But Jake, like, man, my heart beating out my chest. I'm sure it is. You know, it's it's an experience, and it's like a personal experience. Like, you know, they're here right now, and they know you're watching them. Like, they're here for you, type of thing. And she was able to get that on camera, which is rare. Rarer than you might think. I don't say it's rare. It's rarer than you might think. And sometimes you put your camera up and everything gets blurry. You hit the record button, you can't, nothing records, you know, things like that happen. So being able to see that, and it was Jake and Eve that were the ones able to record it, that's let you know something. Also, that that same video, it looks like the same video in Lebanon. It was the same time, so less than 24 hours. This occurred. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get that that actual post. All right. And while I do that, let's get Luke 21 verse 11. All right. I'm going to put up a picture of what happened in Lebanon and what happened in Florida. Only if I can find it. All right. Oh yeah, here. Okay, here it is. So for everybody on Clubhouse, I just narrate what it says. Huge glowing. It's like a huge glowing UFO being seen over the ocean on opposite sides of the world. First video is Daytona Beach, Florida. That's what we just watched. Other 3 images from Lebanon, all in the last 24 hours. Okay, and this happened the 20th, March 20th. Okay, so that's legit. All right, let's continue on. All right, Luke 21 verse 11. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall be from heaven. So this scripture is interesting because it says not just earthquakes in diverse places, great earthquakes in diverse places. And we just had a great earthquake over there in Thailand area. Thailand, Myanmar, yeah. They dealt with some things over there. And a 7.7, you know what I mean? 7's completion, you know. They had skyscrapers collapse like on top of people. They were building up the skyscrapers and they had the crane out there and that thing just fell on their heads. Last time I checked, I don't even know how many people died, but I know it just kept shooting up. And then after a while, of course, it leaves out of the 24-hour news cycle, and then you start talking about something else. But they're still talking about that. Because you imagine with a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, the aftershocks, they just keep coming. So skyscrapers collapse, the road cracked open, unpassable. Like I said, it was I think it had a tsunami watch, but no tsunami. I don't think hit anything. At least I didn't hear about it. Let's get Revelation 7, Salakia, Revelation 6, and verse 12. Let's watch this video first, okay? of what occurred over in Asia. Woe to Asia.
7.7 magnitude earthquake rattling Southeast Asia, flattening skyscrapers and killing at least 150 people. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. This hour, we've got live pictures out of Bangkok with more than 700 people that have been injured, dozens of people still missing underneath the rubble there after that powerful quake hit Myanmar and then rattled across the rest of Asia. Those numbers expected to rise too as search and rescue operations are still underway. It leveled high rises, including a 30-story building that was under construction in Bangkok. The horrifying video captured the moments that skyscraper actually toppled over, disappearing behind a cloud of dust. Construction workers, as you can see, running for their lives, but not all of them making it out. Now, crews are desperately searching for those who are still trapped. An eyewitness watching from a car as that structure barreled to the ground. That onlooker, Jack Brown, actually recalling everything that he saw at that moment.
It was just horrifying to see that destruction, knowing that there are very likely a lot of people in the site. And it turned out, obviously, through news shortly after that is the case. And a lot of people, sadly, are still unaccounted for. It was unprecedented for me. I didn't really know what to expect or what to do. And I just wanted to sort of keep moving and get away from that zone, really.
So after the aftershocks hit and rescuers started to search for the survivors, both countries are now under states of emergency. With the civil war raging in the region, though, it's been more difficult to get information on the damage and the emergency responses. Joining me now, our foreign correspondent, Tom Sufi Burridge. So, Tom, tell us just the latest on what you know with regard to searching for those that are buried under the rubble. And I'm sure the death toll is going to continue to rise.
Yeah, I think, Kira, sadly, the death toll is almost guaranteed to rise. And that is partly because Myanmar, where the epicenter of the quake was, is a closed society. It's an authoritarian regime. There's a civil war, as you say, raging in that country. The military junta that controls most of the main cities, including Mandalay, close to where the epicenter was. I mean, we've got some information coming out from the military junta so far, confirming that at least 140 people killed. But even the military junta itself is saying that figure is likely to rise. Hundreds, more than 700 injured. I think that's pretty telling. But the scenes from Mandalay and other parts of Myanmar tonight coming into us are pretty dramatic. Multiple buildings completely collapsed. Reports of people using their bare hands to sift through the rubble to try and reach loved ones who could be trapped underneath. So I think we just don't have a clear picture coming out of Myanmar about the extent of the devastation and the destruction. In Thailand, I mean, hundreds of miles away from the epicenter, still impressive destruction. Of course, that building, which was under construction itself, which completely collapsed down in the capital, Bangkok. The authorities there, a massive search and rescue operation underway, sniffer dogs brought in, drones being used at the site. But it is nighttime now in Southeast Asia, but that rescue and search operation continues, and I think will continue through the night. They believe around about 100 people could still be missing underneath the rubble of that particular building.
So, Tom, President Trump says that the U.S. will help with efforts now following the quake. How's that going to play out, considering U.S. aid no longer exists?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to wait and see, Kira, right? I mean, this is the first major international disaster since those drastic cuts to USAID. So, we'll have to, I think, see what the capability of the US government is in light of that. And colleagues, ABC colleagues are expecting a briefing from the State Department shortly, and we'll hope to bring you more details of that soon.
All right, Tom Sufi Burridge.
All right, yes, 7.7. If you look at the pictures, they're like Buddhist temples crushed, into rubble. And those were the initial pictures, the initial videos after it just happened. What they look like now, probably dust. But looking at it, said, 150 people died in this clip. I just looked it up, 3,000 people so far. Okay, so that number has been rising. As more find people that are in skyscrapers. You know what I mean? Like a skyscraper fell on somebody's head, so it might take a little bit of time to find them. That's what's going on in Myanmar. And like we just talked about, we have a potential of a civil war, not potential, soon to be civil war here in America. That's what the scriptures say. They're having a civil war over there. So, a civil war followed by a major earthquake. You still want to fight now? Oh no. Oh no. All right. Let's continue on. Okay. Let's go Revelation 6 and 12. I beheld, and when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Very interesting that, you know, a lot of times in the scriptures it talks about like an earthquake and the earth rocking to and fro, just major explosions from nuclear blast. But in the month of March, we had a blood moon, check, solar eclipse, check, and a great earthquake, 7.7 magnitude earthquake. We are in a unbelievably prophetic time period, like today and tomorrow. You know what I mean? So whatever happens, you just know that this is gearing closer and closer to the inevitable return of Hamashiach Yahushai. Chop off heads, put crowns on other heads. Okay? Let's continue on. Okay, let's get Second Ezra 15. We'll go back to Second Ezra 15 and verse 28. So one thing that has to be clear, we talked about this last week, but still B-50 stealth, B-52 bombers are in Diego Garcia, which is an island in the Indian Ocean, not far away from Yemen or Iran. They have about six to 10 that we know of there on that island right now, which is interesting because they only have 20 total. So these B-52 bombers are stealth and they are known to carry nuclear weapons. They're not here for conventional weaponry. These are nuclear planes that are going to drop nuclear weapons. Iran knows this. Iran's like, yo, I mean, look, you're going to do what you want, but guess what? We're going to bomb Diego Garcia if you try to hit us. We're going to bomb every military installation in the region that you have if you try to hit us. You know what I mean? Or if you attack us. Saudi Arabia, which is important because we're about to read about the dragons of Arabia, but thinking not Saudi Arabia wouldn't be part of dragons of Arabia. They're America's friend, right? They were just about to have diplomatic relations with Israel. But they released a statement saying, if you attack Iran, we see that as an attack on the Muslims, and we will respond accordingly. Meaning like we got Iran's back, which is odd because they don't even like each other, but I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of deal. Interesting. Let's bring that out though. Second Ezra 15 verse 28. Behold, a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they that hear them may fear and tremble. Now, does that mean the dragons of Arabia is just the Saudi Arabia? Not necessarily. Looking that up, it's like they say the evils. They used to say the dragons, are the evil people over there in Arabia, But right now, Saudi Arabia is in the mix. Okay, let's keep going. Also, the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, right? The rod of Most High's anger, the tough guys, the Assyrians are the tough guys, right? So-called tough guys. But the Carmanians, looked up the historical region of ancient Persia. That's Iran, okay? Next verse. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. So, you know, Ishmael is a wild man. He'll blow himself up to make his point. He's gonna remember who he is. Like, hold on, let's sign this treaty and that treaty. Like, man, let's go to war. Let's just do it. Jordan is American's puppet over there, and maybe they might have a wake up call. And be like, you know what? And they like Esau over there anyway. But he might have a wake up call and say, let's get it on. Let's rumble. Let's have it. Because right now, Iran don't care at all what the United States is talking about. The United States said, oh, we got those 6 bombers, we got nukes and everything. They like, okay. They seen a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz or Red Sea, I'm not sure where, and they just gripped it up. 2 of them at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, if they showing you that they didn't care before, they really showing you don't care now. What you gonna do? We just took y'all tankers. You don't know whose tanker it was, what flag they were flying, but Iran kind of seems to be fed up at this point. So it looks like World War III is quickly approaching. That's why we gotta watch Elon Musk, sneaky Edomite. Whether he's gotten fired or he quit, where's he going? Where are you about to go? Where you tweeting from? What bunker you at? But let's continue on. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Matter of fact, let's watch this video first before we do that. See what they got in store in the future.
Let's begin here, though. Breaking overnight, Iran's supreme leader issuing a new warning to the United States after President Trump threatened to bomb Tehran. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei warning that America will receive a strong blow if it acts on President Trump's threat over negotiations on a new nuclear deal. News Nation's Tom Dempsey has the latest from Washington. Tom, good morning to you. We're starting to really get a clearer picture here of the president's plans to turn back the clock on Iran's nuclear program.
That's right. Good morning, Mark. Some big comments coming from President Donald Trump, who says that if Iran does not make a deal to rein in its nuclear program, the United States may resort to bombing the country. He made these comments during a recent interview with NBC News. Obviously, a lot of attention on this, with President Trump putting it bluntly, quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before. But Iran's own president says the country has no plans to directly negotiate with the United States, writing, quote, we don't avoid talks. It's a breach of promises that has been caused issues for us so far. They must prove that they can build trust. But President Trump made it clear over the weekend he will not back down.
And we're going to either have to talk and talk it out, or very bad things are going to happen to Iran.
I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty.
During his first term, President Trump pulled the United States out of a deal with Iran that put strict limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. But concerns have grown about Iran developing a nuclear weapon. President Trump sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader pushing for a deal after the UN's nuclear watchdog group, the International Atomic Energy Agency, reported earlier this year that Iran has accelerated its production of near weapons-grade uranium. Now, Iran insists that its program is for peace peaceful purposes. But really adding a lot onto the tension right now, Marky, is recent United States strikes against Houthi targets, with the United States accusing Iran of providing money and weapons to the terrorist group.
Yeah,
Marky?
a lot on the line there. And in a similar vein, when it comes to geopolitical tensions, Tom, the president also appears to be losing his patience with Russian President Vladimir Putin. What's the latest in that relationship?
Well, so first off, President Trump saying he hopes to speak later this week over the phone with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but he once again really held nothing back, Marky, saying that he's, quote, pissed off with the Russian leader right now. And that's because of recent comments from Putin about how Ukraine should be put under control of other governments. The president has been pushing for a ceasefire, obviously, and says if Russia gets in the way of that happening, the U.S. will hit it with tariffs.
Certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on it, would that be very good for us? All secondary tariffs are very strong because essentially it says if you disobey our orders, you cannot do business in the United States of America. And that's the cash cow.
Ukraine and Russia recently agreed to a partial and limited ceasefire, stopping attacks in the Black Sea and on energy facilities, but that has not stopped the war at all, with Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, being targeted over the weekend. And President Trump also had some words for Ukraine, warning it that if it does pull out of a rare earth minerals deal with the United States, Ukraine will have, quote, big problems.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
That guy is a mafioso. You know what I'm saying? You pull out from this deal, we got big problems, you know. If Iran doesn't listen to my deal, they're gonna have issues. We all know what those issues are. Like, yo, boy's sick. That is Esau, man. That is, somebody told me that's Esau reincarnate. Aye, man. The regenerated version of Esau, man. If he isn't a red devil, I don't know who is. Okay, so the thing about Iran, which a lot of the world's seen when they went, you know, had that little tit-tat with Israel, is that their missiles are top notch. You know what I'm saying? They're very well-oiled militia, or military rather, not even militia. Their aerodynamics, their arrows hit their mark. You know what I mean? They even have missiles that send out dummy missiles. So when the missile defense system is ignited or engaged, then it goes after the dummy missile and the real missile hits its target. Very sophisticated work. And that's the main reason, other than the Most High ain't pulled the trigger on that yet. But while Esau's scared because they know they have nothing that can stop these missiles that they have, and the stuff that's what they know they have. The other things, the modernized drones and so forth and so on that Iran possesses is enough to keep the U.S. military generals up at night. But Trump's so stupid, he doesn't listen to anybody. So may the Most High put the spirit on him to strike Iran and get this thing popping. All right, let's continue on. What is Trump doing domestically? Okay. That right there was international news. Now we're into Trump talk. Okay, let's get into some Trump talk. What's going on? What's he doing to the African American Museum? Something I just heard about today by the comedian Godfrey was talking about it. So it's not something that maybe I just haven't seen the news lately, but I haven't seen it talked about. But what they're trying to do is Israel is really get underneath our skin. You know what I'm saying? Really trying to grind our gears. You know what I mean? To have us slip up and do something that will give them a reason to react. You know what I'm saying? And just be still. Be still and know that he is God. Okay? Because he's taking vengeance. He's taking vengeance on our adversaries, right? Taking them out left and right. And we ain't even lift a finger yet, other than following these law, statute, commandments and teaching others to do so. So let God work, okay? When they talk about releasing what's his name, Derek Chauvin and all this other stuff, and want you to get all riled up and go outside with a brick and do something to get arrested. You know what I mean? Or go pop the trunk, grab the AK and let it spray. No, we ain't gotta do none of that. Allow the Most High to bring on 90 tornadoes from LA to Maine. Well, at least I know Pennsylvania had tornadoes. I don't know if Maine did. But from the West Coast to the East Coast, allow that to happen. Allow the Most High to have a 7.7 magnitude earthquake over there in Asia. 6.1 and off the coast of South Africa, South America. Allow the Most High to work. Okay? And look how desperate Esau is. Like, look, we know the tricks of the devil, all right? We shouldn't be ignorant of his devices. We see how he operates. So right now he's talking about getting rid of the African American Museum. So let's not get too upset, because if you're an Israelite that actually read the Bible, we're saying the prophecy is this whole place is going up in smoke. So the African American Museum can go right along with it. But you see how the devil works. You see how the so-called white man works. You know, by the time 100 years from now, they're gonna say Michael Jackson was white, Michael Jordan was white, of course Jesus is white, right? LeBron James is white. You wouldn't know because there's no museums to go to, or the museums that we go to now they're whitewashed. They can easily scrub the internet. You understand? The Gulf of Mexico is the Gulf of America. You know what I mean? And they steal so much that now they have nothing else to steal. He's trying to steal Greenland. Like, yo, DJ Vance, or DJ Vance, what's his name? JD Vance, go over there and and grab Greenland for me. You know? Stealing everything. Everything? Everything. Okay? So Greenland's up on the market. They want to get Canada. Yeah, this devil is he's just doing his job, you know what I'm saying? But let's not lose focus, okay? Let's not get emotionally involved in anything in America. So the fact that you turn around and turn into a pillar of salt. Keep that thing moving. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Because guess what? We still need these curses. You might know who you are. You might be following the law, statutes, commandments. You might be doing the best you've been doing in your entire life right now. You still under them curses though. Okay, so you know the Most High has your back. All praises. Okay, just don't be surprised when things like this are talked about and you fall off your square. We understand that these things are going to happen. Okay. Oh, there's a bunch of. Let me see, man. Brownsburg, Indiana. Tornado outbreak. This is an unprecedented tornado outbreak happening right now. Okay, so if you live in the Midwest, do yourself a favor, plug in all your electronic devices and pay attention. Just make sure you say your prayers and all that. Because there's a bunch of tornadoes happening right now. Most High is working right now. So let this devil, he's going to do whatever he's going to do anyway. The more things he do, the more the Most High going to destroy him. Okay. Deuteronomy 28, verse 33, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be oppressed and crushed alway. So, and I'll tell you something about that. I like the Smithsonian of African American Museum, right? But one thing I did notice, they don't have to talk a lot about Israelites in there. Okay, you look at the donors. The donors are Amalek. The biggest donors are Amalek. And you can go in there and see all about the curses and the stuff we've been through, and you know, oh, this is us. Look at all this stuff that's going on. The musically inclined, the inventions, slavery, everything's there, right? But when you go to the cafe, guess what they have on the menu? Pulled pork. You see that? You see how we could talk all about the curses and all the things that's happening to these poor black folks, but look how they overcame, and then they did this and they invented that and they boycotted this. And then when you're done, go in there and get you a pork sandwich so we can keep this thing going so they'll never wake up. So If he has a problem, if he's going to demolish the African American Museum, so be it. The America's getting demolished anyway. Verse 34. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. So, watching this stuff will make you crazy, but he's got to slow down. Don't get emotionally involved in anything in America. This place is going to be toast. No butter, just toast.
New reaction tonight after another bold move by President Trump, this time taking aim at the Smithsonian Institution. He says it's to restore truth and sanity to American history. Critics say he's trying to whitewash it. 7 News' Carl Willis tonight with both sides.
The Smithsonian Institution, the world's largest museum, education, and research complex, and a powerful draw for visitors like Talisha Bhatia.
There's the Indian Museum, the African American Museum, all this little Smithsonian's. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's also the latest target of the Trump administration and the focus of an executive order that aims to remove what the administration considers anti-American ideology. Certain narratives on the country's racial history, part of the executive order reads, quote, over the past decade, Americans have witnessed a concerted and widespread effort to rewrite our nation's history, replacing objective facts with a distorted narrative driven by ideology rather than truth. The order also seeks to remove recognition of the achievements of trans women in the American Women's History Museum.
I feel like that's overstepping their boundaries of what the government, because it should be open and equal to everybody.
The executive order specifically mentions the Smithsonian American Art Museum, as well as the National Museum for African American History and Culture, for having divisive race-centered ideology. Some say this is an attempt to erase history.
It really hurts your generation, because your history is who you are.
And more controversy over a separate executive order this week.
This is only the latest in a pattern of attacks on our ability to control our own affairs.
The order would create a surge of law enforcement in public areas, maximize immigration enforcement, and help DC's crime lab get its accreditation.
We have a lot of good things happening in our country.
Patrice Sultan with DC Justice Lab says this makes her feel unsafe.
I actually see it as quite dangerous to keep doubling down on policies we know have failed just to score political points with people who don't even live here.
Carl Willis, 7 News.
Now, 7 News.
Yep. So, bye-bye to the Smithsonian. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy, he's sick, man. He's sick upstairs. He's gone, But you cannot have anybody that has any level of substance be the president of the United States right now. This place is getting destroyed by God. So can you imagine somebody that came in that has a level head and we're going to make sure, we're going to build this up and build that up. No, this dude is here to destroy. And the Most High put the perfect stooge in place during this time period. You ask about God, send your son back and, destroy this place. Well, he's doing it. You know what I'm saying? He's doing it. By the time you wake up tomorrow and turn on the news, I don't know what these tornado outbreaks are going to look like, but it's going to be devastating throughout the Midwest. Arkansas, Indiana. There's going to be places that they ain't going to have, people aren't going to have a house to go home to. All right. So God is destroying this place. And if Trump wants to keep going, just like Pharaoh hardened his heart, what's going to happen? The Most High going to keep on sending the plagues, and the Most High is the one hardening his heart. So as you can see, it's all downhill for Esau. All right, just don't get emotionally involved in this collapse. Okay, let's continue. And what's happening with Esau? Is he all right? Is Esau thinking clearly? What does his house look like? It's this movie called, I want to say Verbamium. Oh, man. Verbamium. I don't know.
Salakia, verbatim.
Verbatim, is that the name?
I believe it is.
Okay. Thwada. So this movie is, I like it. It was a pretty good movie. You know what I mean? I don't want to give it all away. But Esau can't leave. He had a spot where he can't leave, right? And just like the scriptures talk about, in Jeremiah, talking about, I've inherited lies. You know what I'm saying? Look at your followers, like, I've inherited lies, and be upset, because they think all you gotta do is get Lil Baby's new album, and you down with the hood. You good. You know what I'm saying? You wear your hat backwards. So what that you part of a bloodline of murderous thieves. You know what I'm saying? You're good, right? But then they come to find out that they're not too good. They find out that their history is stained with stealing and homicides and stuff like that. Of course, they're trying to get rid of the critical race theory because, of course, critical race is letting people know that your ancestors are just terrible groups of people. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of Black history is filled with the things white people have done to us. You know what I mean? So at a certain age, I say Esau, around teenage years into his 20s, he's figuring out some things that either he's going to be, Hail Hitler, or, he's going to have to get on like a John Brown type time. You know what I mean? I'm about to take over. Not giving too much faith in Esau actually waking up and open up his eyes, but the Most High put that spirit on him to totally take out his entire family. And now in our domestic violence segment of the news, all to do with Esau, let's get Job 20, verse 6. So in that movie, I think it's on Netflix too. You want to check it out. In that movie, like I said, I'm not going to give it away, but there's a child in that is there, and he's just watching his parents closely. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I can't talk more about it without giving away the movie, but I thought about that in this next video. But Job 20 and 6, though his excellency mount up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds. Verse 7, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. You know what I mean? Just like a piece of crap that just sits there on the pavement. You know what I'm saying? Just nobody's picking it up. Nobody cares about it, So this was happening to Esau. He's perishing like his own dung, just sitting there rotting away, wasting away. Continuing on, they which have seen him shall say, where is he? So that's what we got to figure out in this next video. Where is Esau? What happened to him? Did he perish like his own dung?
Before Nikita Kassup was charged with murder, he was held in the Waukesha County Jail only on charges that he stole his parents' car and gun. That changed today, but I do want to warn you, the details that we learned, some people may find disturbing. The 17-year-old is accused of killing his mom, Tatiana Kassup, and his stepdad, Donald Mayer, more than a month ago, back on February 11th. Court records say he shot his mom in an upstairs hallway, his stepdad in an office. Police say he left the bodies where they died. Then Kassup lived in the house for nearly 2 weeks before he fled. Police found a camera memory card that showed about a week after the murder, Kassup was lighting candles in the office where his stepdad's body was sitting and recording the dead body. Police say at one point, Kassup stood next to his stepdad's body with his phone out as if taking pictures, all while videoing himself with another camera. So Kassup then says, so you can see him there. I can literally see the expletive rotting body. In the month leading up to the murder, Kassup also told a girl at his school that he wanted to shoot and kill his parents, but he told her it was only hypothetical because he didn't have a gun.
The defendant did threaten to kill witness A if she told anyone what he was telling her after he had given her information that he was speaking with someone from Russia.
Kassup is now being held on a $1 million bail. He has not entered a plea on the new charges against him. That will come next week. In Waukesha, Rebecca Clough, TMJ4 News.
In Waukesha.
Wow.
Shalom.
Yeah, you know what? all of this that's happening is Iraq 23 and 11 when it talks about that his own family, the plague should come in his own household. You know what I mean? Everything that Esau is doing is destroying himself from within. That's why Trump made the statement. He said that the most dangerous thing is from within, not Russia, he feels, but haters of America. You know, scriptures talk about a man that troubles his own house. You know what I mean? Everything that they're doing is from within and to destroy themselves. Like the Bible says, Satan divided against Satan. How can he stand? You know, if he does fight Elon Musk, right? The secrets that Elon Musk has on him, like the other sister, Emma Rosa, who he fired, said that Trump wants to start a race war. The secrets that Elon Musk has on him will damage him so bad, it's going to be pathetic. And it's going to get him out, probably get him out of there. See what I'm saying? Because that's what they do. This is how you know the Most High is destroying them. That's how you know the Most High is destroying them. You see what I'm saying? And Trump definitely the nationalist and the racist. And you can see it. Why does every racist, you got to understand how every racist thinks. Every racist thinks like South Africa, which is their last stronghold. That's their last stronghold. Every racist is in fear like South Africa, where the people they're gonna become outnumbered and the blacks gonna take over. That is the racist fear. That is the book that was written, the racist book that every racist have read. You feel me? You know the book I'm talking about, Kasaja?
Is it Hitler's book, Mein Kampf?
You know the book I'm talking about?
Is it Mein Kampf with Hitler?
Kasaja,
Can you hear me?
you there?
Khan, can you hear me?
It's a book.
You hear me? Mein Kampf?
Mein Kampf or something like that about the racist. And it explains the racist agenda. Kasaja.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Oh,
You know the book I'm talking about?
Mein Kampf?
Something like that.
I think that with Hitler.
The Hitler, well, I think it was either written by Hitler or somebody else. You know what I mean? That's the book, that's the racist Bible. They all go by that. Because in that book, it tells you that one day blacks will overthrow whites. They will be the majority and they will get them back. And therefore, we have to keep our feet on them. And this is what Charles Manson, this is what a lot of them went by.
Khan. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a nice back and forth with Elon Musk and Trump. That'd be great. It was loving each and Trump can't have friends. People like that can't have friends. You look at, his first term, people left and wrote books about him and everything like that. He loved this guy one minute and then he's the worst general, he's the worst general in the world next minute. So it's just only a matter of time. Esau can't get along with each other.
Because you know really why he really can't get along. He's an egotistical bastard. He has to have the attention. Somebody like that he has to be the center of attention. So him and Elon Musk will not get together because he feels like Elon Musk is robbing him of his attention. He has to be the president. He's the so-called most powerful man in the world, which we know is a lie. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, that egotistic will make him never get along with nobody.
I hope we can see it. I hope the Most High makes it public. I'm sure it will be. All right. So now let's go to the weather update. Okay. Apparently there's Noah-like flooding going on in Greece, where they had all the very, the island of Lesbos, you know what I'm saying? Like they they're like the invention. They like almost like they invented homosexuality. But you know what I'm saying? They really propel things to the next level over there in the Edomite countries, especially Greece. Okay, let's go to Sirach 40 verse 8. And let's talk about it. All right. Sirach 40 verse 8, in parentheses, such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more than sinners. So listen, there's floods all over the place, right? But man, listen, Greece, they deserve some real floods. And they're flooding on an island. It's an island where there's water everywhere. So a flooded island is something that's next level. I don't even know what that looks like, but that's crazy. Let's continue on. Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and a scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. Now think about the wickedness. Think about the wickedness of. You saw that? All right. I have to mark that part down. I seen something, Slakia. Think about how evil the Greeks are. You know what I'm saying? And at this point, they're having biblical flooding over there. So let's watch that. So everybody on Clubhouse, they're gonna start talking about it to give you a description, but right now it's just a river running through the streets of Greece. Along with cars.
A relentless wave of extreme weather has pummeled Greece, unleashing torrential rain, violent thunderstorms, and devastating hailstorms across multiple regions.
That's happening right now.
Yeah, that's happening right now.
Cyclades, Peloponnese, and central Greece have borne the brunt of the storm, with widespread destruction in communities scrambling to cope with the aftermath. The tempest announced its arrival with fury on the island of Paros, where relentless rainfall transformed Naousa into a chaotic scene of surging floodwaters. Streets became raging rivers, sweeping away vehicles and inflicting extensive damage. The relentless downpour, which persisted for hours, triggered landslides that crippled the island's road network. Paros Mayor Kostas Bizis described the dire situation during an interview on Antoine's main news bulletin. The rain started around 3 p.m. and hasn't stopped. We have drivers trapped on roads near Lefks and along the Perichia-Nosa axis. Footage shows torrents of water dragging cars into the Nasa River, carrying them toward the bridge by the sea. In response, authorities have ordered all schools on Paros to remain closed on Tuesday, while Greece's 112 emergency service has issued a ban on non-essential vehicle movement across the island. Mykonos, another jewel of the Aegean, faced similar devastation. The island's iconic Kora district found itself submerged as a relentless downpour battered its streets.
All right, that should be good. Get the picture. Ain't looking good over there in Greece. You know what I mean? And just when you think, well, that's thousands of miles away or whatever, guess what? It's coming to the U.S. So tonight, it is a tornado outbreak in central United States, right? This weekend is going to be unprecedented amount of rain dumping in pretty much the same area. So as the Most High, great and terrible, as he rips away people's homes in a few days, literally a few days, it's going to be the most amount of rain we've seen in a generation, they say. This is the most amount in a generation. So huge amounts of tornadoes tonight, buckets of rain, I would say tomorrow, but by the time people realize what's going on and what's happening, now they flooded with rain. So the Most High is working. All right. Let's continue on. Let's go to Judges chapter 2 and verse 2. So now, after the weather update, we're going to get, the segment. It's called Wrapped Out. Jake is wrapped out. Jake is gone with the wind, man. We can't just sit there and talk about Esau. And we often don't. You know what I mean? People are like, y'all always talking about the white man. No, that's not true. We talk about our own people. We want our own people to get it together. Esau can't get right. He's a son of perdition. Ain't nobody, you can't put no dress on a pig and expect the pig to do anything other than be a pig. But with our people, it's like, come on, man, y'all got to get together. Y'all got to get on. Y'all got to pay attention. Y'all got to read something. So if you haven't known or haven't heard, Philadelphia has a huge Muslim population. Not the real Muslims that, come from Saudi Arabia and all, Iran and this, that, and the third. We're talking about Jake that just wants to pick every religion other than the one that the Most High gave him, found these law, statutes, commandments. So it is just, being from here, it's more of, you think you're more conscious than a Christian. You know what I'm saying? You look at Christianity and see white Jesus and, the finger of God and it's a white finger and all this other stuff. And you then see somebody just a little bit darker, possibly, you know what I mean? A religion where people might look similar to you and they just grasp onto that. That's one reason. Another reason is when you go to prison, the Muslims pretty much run the jails. You know what I'm saying? So it's it might be a good idea, not in my eyes, but for some people to join that, and now you're not getting beat up. I know this one guy who's getting beat up all the time, and then he came and talked to me one time, like, yeah, I'm about to take my shahad. I'm like, they pretty much beat you into being a Muslim, and then once you're a Muslim, they leave you alone. You know what I'm saying? So it's a prison gang. And brothers, you know, their fathers or their uncles come home from jail and they say, guess what? We're all Muslim now. And then now the whole family's Muslim. You know what I mean? But that's not doing anything to help you know, get closer to the Most High God. In fact, it's a huge detriment because Salakia, it's a huge detriment because brothers will say, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't sell drugs to that person because he's another Muslim. You can't shoot him because he's another Muslim." But then you sell drugs to everybody else, and you know what I mean? White dude could say, "I'm a Muslim now." Oh, that's your brother now. That don't make no sense, you know. And even if that was the case, they still don't listen to it because they sell drugs to anybody and shoot whoever they want. And you see in this next video, they just be beating the crap out of each other. You know what I'm saying? And somebody got shot as well. So the Eid, if I'm saying that right, is the end of Ramadan. You know, Ramadan, they don't eat or drink, I believe, during the day. And then at night they eat. So it's not like an official fast where you don't eat or drink anything. But for the most part, like he's gonna say in this video, they drinking and smoking throughout Ramadan. Nobody don't get it twisted. Now, there's some people that I know personally that follow Islam, and that's what works for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not gonna put a cherry on it and say, oh, this is a beautiful religion, this, that, and the third. That's what they know what I'm into, I know what they into, and that's it. It is what it is. But they actually try to follow it and be humble and all that. You hardly find anybody like that in this city. I say they don't exist, but damn it, it's far and few between. So let's bring that out, judges, because of course, you know, these other religions, these other guys are a snare to us. You know, I seen a brother that has a lot of respect in the city, you know, for trying to reach over people to touch that rock, and you see him getting boxed out. He's tall, so you see him getting boxed out by the Ishmaelites. Like, yo, we don't want your black hands touching that. You know what I mean? Just to touch a rock. It's literally a rock. I've never seen that rock open up and a chariot come out of it, or have anything amazing happen anywhere around that rock. I seen it get struck by lightning. I seen people praying to Muhammad, and a bunch of cockroaches or whatever just popped up out of the ground and started jumping on them. I see some crazy stuff happen around that, but none of it being like, oh, that's a miracle. That's a beautiful thing. But last year, multiple people got shot at the Id in West Philly. So they decided to have it at Temple University this year, probably thinking that it'll calm down with all the problems and the fights and all this other stuff that happens and the thievery, people stealing cameras and stuff there. Nope. They just took their ratchetness to Temple University. But let's bring that out. Judges 2 and 2. And he shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land, and he shall throw down their altars. But ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this? You know, let's keep going. Verse 3. Therefore I have said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your side, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. So this is definitely a snare. All right. Let's get Deuteronomy 28:64 on deck. Once again, some choice words comes out of his mouth. He actually he actually tried to censor himself in the beginning, but a couple do fly out. But just FYI.
We don't even deal with each other. You feel me? I be seeing niggas go through stuff with their baby mom that I've never been through yet. I hope we don't go through anything. We only got a couple more years. My baby about to be 16 years old. Ever. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. Oh, we have the Id second shooting. If you do not know the Id second or the E second, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Shooting it is actually absolutely positively 100% a reenactment of the stupid, dumb, retarded, maniacal, diabolical bullshit from last year. Yeah, black kids don't want to be great. They want to follow the stupid trends. However, this is the let me try to get you to understand. All the drillers, steppers, stompers, movers, pushers in the 75th hearse, torture hearse, camper hearse, cinder hearse, identify as Muslim. Then if I say that, I'm like, you can't judge. They can't be judged. Only Allah can judge. You're not going to see Allah, sir. What are you talking about? It's no judgment day for the wicked. Y'all know that? They say it's floodgates to hell. You don't gotta stand and be judged. You die, poof, hell, motherfucker, quick. You ain't gotta wait. No, y'all don't think y'all going to heaven to even talk to God. Yeah, I hope and see y'all make it to heaven. You going to hell, nigga, as soon as you die. You gotta wait till the judgment day, god damn it. However, last year's shooters, I believe they got away fairly for a couple minutes. We caught these niggas expeditiously. Paul Lexia says 12 arrested after 15-year-old shot in North Philadelphia during Ramadan event. It's because y'all kids don't have no home training, first of all. They don't even have no discipline, no fear. They don't fear consequences, repercussions. They don't fear you, goddammit. Who is you? You ain't gonna pick me up when I do some dumb shit. That's how they feel about your stupid ass. However, I'm gonna send it over to my stepsister company. Say it right, please. Continue.
A teenager is recovering tonight after being shot after a Ramadan event in North Philadelphia. Police say a dozen people were arrested after crowds of teens had gathered in the area of Broad Street and Cecil B. Moore. Folks who were there for the celebration say they're heartbroken that this is how the day ended. Action News reporter Brianna Gallagher joins us live from police headquarters with the latest. Brianna.
Yeah, Trish, we now know that at least 12 arrests came of this today. A large Ramadan event was held at the Liacouras Center on Temple University's campus earlier today. And officials believe that some of the trouble that was caused by some of the people who may have been at this event.
We knew that there was an event that was going to attract large crowds. So we did have officers on location already. But given the large crowds after the shooting incident, additional officers responded from nearby units and districts.
Look, y'all got the young boys out there. First of all, the stove looks dangerous. You feel me? There's nothing friendly looking about a black stove, a gray stove. It looks suspicious. That's just me. I'm just saying. I see 4 young niggas in 4 black stoves and they had on COVID masks. You still look suspicious, nigga. Continue.
Philadelphia police and Temple University police responded to a shooting along the 1400 block of Cecil B. Moore. It happened in a parking lot next to an alleyway.
We discovered a 15-year-old male, young man, who was shot one time in the left forearm.
Officers rushed the 15-year-old to the hospital. Officials say video indicates the teens were in the area from the Ramadan event when one of them fired a gun, hitting the 15-year-old in the arm.
It does appear that most of the crowd that we were attempting to disperse.
Hold on. I thought you're not supposed to shed the blood of another Muslim. So he should be going to hell, right? Even though young boy didn't die, thank God for that. However, he's supposed to go get judged by law. He didn't shed the blood of another Muslim. He's supposed to be Muslim. I know it ain't no Christians out there. I know it ain't no Jewish people out there. I know it ain't no Buddhists out there. So I feel like if them young niggas wear masks to any Ramadan event, y'all should not allow them to come eat. No, they cannot come feast with y'all. They cannot come get the benefits of the Eid celebration. That's what I feel. But it ain't my goddamn call. Continue.
A good number of those were either at the event or associated with the event in some way.
My families were inside celebrating the end of Ramadan.
This day is our Eid, so what it marks is the end of our Ramadan. We start off with our morning prayer in the morning, then a bunch of families come out and they enjoy themselves for the day.
Outside, following the shooting, officers were called to Broad and Cecil B. Moore for large crowds and fights in the area. Officers could be seen trying to move crowds along as the groups would go from one side of Cecil B. Moore to the next.
It was heartbreaking because this is a peaceful time. This is a peaceful time, and to hear that it was so much ruckus happening on the outside, it's just heartbreaking because that's not what we're here for, and that's not what our religion represents.
That's why y'all need to kick their asses out your religion. Yeah, I'm with it. Get them out of there. Send them to jail. I don't trust no Muslims under 30. That's just me. I'm sorry. However, you got some more to say? Anthony.
Now, police say there are a lot of cameras in the area of where the shooting happened, that they'll be using that footage as part of their investigation. That 15-year-old is in stable condition. We're live outside of Philadelphia Police Headquarters. Brianna Gallagher for Action News at 10 on PHL 17. Trish.
Action News at 10 on PHL 17. You got a number 6. Oh, they probably broke channel 17, y'all. Y'all out here getting that money like that? However, y'all ain't hire me. You niggas be goddamn gatekeeping. But over here, we have the new Nike Tech driller, stepper, stomper, mover, pusher, and the 70. Fixer her, torture her, camper her, send her uniform. Yeah, stuff like this don't make it no better. Paul Myers Lexia say they got the Nike Tech food just in time for Ramadan. No. Why y'all even making stuff associated with the Nike Tech? Because I know Nike didn't make that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't make that. However, Nike stand for nigga, I kill everybody. Yeah, they got a new goddamn meaning. So I don't think we should be associating that with Ramadan or Islam or none of the dimes. You feel me? So I'm gonna send it over to the steps. Take it away, please. Anthony.
جدد حبيبي يعطيك عافية فكري معلومة أول كان الحل سالة داوود بن بلو هذه فكري المعلومة.
Y'all think that's not contributing? I ain't seen nobody with it on yet. However, I can definitely see motherfuckers doing drills, jumping in them V's, trying to catch a B with one of these on. The next slide over here, it is a young killer with that 5-5. We found his ass, y'all. You thought you was getting away that quick, nigga? Say it, please. Anything.
For everybody on Clubhouse, so the cops have this one person surrounded, it looks like a young teenager surrounded, and they pull out like a large, look like an M16 or, you know what I mean, AR or something out of his leg. It looks fake, you know what I mean, that with his clothing and what he had on him, you know what I mean? But it was very real. Let's continue.
First of all, where did they just pull that gun out of? God, that motherfucker. Yo! That shit the size of his leg. Fuck, he was gonna shoot like this. Boom, 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 boom. How would you gonna shoot that joint, my nigga? You burnt out taking that to the Eid celebration. I'm so glad they caught you. Shout out to the police department who did their thing. Them got to grip your stupid ass up. So just stupid ass damn bitch. What are you doing? Nigga, into you. My God! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Take him away, officers, with his nut ass. What you was coming to do, sir? I'm trying to figure that out. Like, you came to shoot this joint up? You know how many people you was going to charge that nigga with how many people was out there? 62,000 counts of attempted murder. If that's the shooter. Whoever the shooter is, him too, though, charge him too. But whoever the shooter was, I want him to get charged with 62,000 count. Because I know there's a lot of motherfuckers out there. Probably wasn't 62,000 people, but that should probably like round it up to the nearest 100. Anything. Yeah, out there, all them old ladies, all them kids, all them young ladies, all them kids, all them killers too. Don't forget that. I don't know how y'all be like turning a blind eye. I'll be out there like, look at all these killers acting like they did Ramadan right. Knowing none of y'all niggas was doing it right. Y'all was eating and smoking and drinking and getting the whole fucking time. Talking about that sun went down. So the what, motherfucker? When the sun go down, motherfucker, you that not have enough energy to do the sins. Motherfucker, you was to have enough energy to eat and go to sleep. No, y'all was out here still doing all the goddamn shit in the world. And then coming to the Eid celebration like you supposed to be there. You going to hell, nigga. I want you to know that. Never had a chance in heaven. However, over here we got another video. I don't know what's going on in this joint, so take it away, please. Anything.
So the next video right here is same situation, multiple people in Muslim garb. Police tell them to get back. They not listening, you know what I mean, and yelling with the police.
See, oh, he buckled. Oh, he weak in the knees. I get so weak in the knees. I don't know that whole song, but that nigga just buckled, y'all. Anything. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can't really judge. They said somebody got shot up here. So what do y'all expect the police to do? Hey, please, move back. Back the fuck! I couldn't be no cop. I'd have stuck. Boom, 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 boom. I bet you niggas move the back now. Yeah. Yeah, it's a new sheriff in town. So I couldn't be no cop. However, that wasn't that bad. The next slide over here is a fighting stepper. Say it away, please. Anything.
So next video is brother, Muslim garb, squares up with the police, but squares up with a white shirt, and as people try to hold him back, the other police officer, regular, beat cop, regular shirt, whatever, starts chasing after him, and he starts running. So it's a lot went on at this, and he doesn't have it's another video where they're fighting actually inside the Leah Core Center. Like they jump somebody, they stepping on his head and everything. Everybody got the Muslim garb on. It was madness. All right, let's keep going.
Look, hey, look at baby with the baton. Don't run now, nigga. That nigga said, oh, I can take you, but him with the baton, he ready to whiz out, up some Izu ass. Nigga got boogie on. Let's see if he caught him though. Into you. Get him. Chance. You chance, nigga. You thought it was a game that was gonna square with the police with the 911 with the mother. Yeah, nigga. You thought this was? You thought nigga got no respect. You squared up with the white shirt. What? You asked for that, nigga. You can't be mad at me because you literally asked. When you did that, man, that's a white shirt. I don't go. You said you do that to my white shirt? Hawk your ass down, put 40 niggas on you. They probably beat the fuck right out of your stupid ass. Ever, anything. Oh yeah, man. I knew that was about to happen. I swear to God, I knew that was about to happen. What the is wrong with y'all? Like, it's just common sense. They arresting the nigga. Ain't no walking up on the biggest gang in the world. You walking down on the biggest gang in the world that'll shoot you right here with all the cameras out and still get exonerated, nigga? Oh my God.
So Jake, as the guy's getting arrested, the guy that's squared up with the cop, another Jake just comes up like he's a cop, like, you know what I mean? Just walking up on the scene, and he got pushed back. And now he starts snapping and somebody has to hold him back, but yeah, that's not legit.
Y'all niggas better stop playing. Angie. No, you're not going to do nothing but end up on your stomach in handcuffs, just like him. Like, this should be burning me. Y'all be super tough, knowing damn well you're not doing nothing at all. The super gangsters would have just did it, and whatever the consequence was right there on the streets. Angie. Oh shit, man. Stop playing, nigga. Running now. Who run now, nigga? Be a big gangster like you is. However, do we got something over here? Oh, that was it. So, thank y'all for doing the best that y'all could do. I'm glad nobody died. Only one person got shot, and it was not a fatal injury. I am glad for that. I'm not glad that it happened. I'm glad that they locked 12 niggas up. Yeah. With the pride, if y'all would have started making them niggas take the masks off, you probably would have felt like 30 niggas on the most wanted list. I promise you. But y'all let niggas run around ski masks and goddamn COVID masks all day. So the 12 people we gripped up, we got to sit you down, introduce you to Uncle Lola. How you doing?
So everybody doesn't know Uncle Lala, like you're saying, is Larry Krasner. He's the DA here in Philadelphia, top district attorney. And when he says send them to a recreational centers, they are our state prison facilities. All right. So the next segment is the smack from Uncle Lala, smacking these dudes that are going to prison for a long time.
I do not know how extreme their charges are as of the moment, but please, shut the right? Wow. God. They stupid. Can boot that, so people will slip through Cape Forest, Rockview, Avia, Chester, Monroe, Frankfurt Green, Somerset, Pine Grove. One of them recreational centers you can go. Let us know. You disturb that Ramadan like you disturb this Ramadan? I bet you because they'd have killed your chance. That's wrong. In other news.
All right. So that's what happened in Philadelphia. And count it all joy that you found the truth and that there's some things you should be doing, because in that situation, with Islam, they really believe that they're following God. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know what I mean? Some people don't take it seriously, but God has a list of demands that he needs us to do. And, to circumvent that and just make up things like you can't kill spiders and you got to have your pants cuffed above your ankles to make it to heaven, it's just setting them up for failure. You know what I mean? But let's move on. Okay. Now let's go to Slovakia. Let's go to the health segment. Okay. Like for every class, leave you with something that you could check out, something to think about. You know what I mean? because we got to get healthy in these last days. You know, we've been fed a bunch of lies, so let's go through it. Let's get Sirach 37 and 29. And I'm going to read this article. The article says protein is being added to yogurt, bread, and even coffee. But is it really good for our health? Now, the thing about, these studies, they'll be like, coffee is great for your health. Next study, coffee is terrible for your health. Next study, water is great for your health. Next study, water is terrible for your health. So it's the headlines usually gets you to read it. You know what I'm saying? But we got to read our articles. Slack, I'm losing my voice. We got to read our articles and not just read the headlines. You know, it might say coffee is terrible for our health. And then at the bottom it says, yeah, drinking 30 cups of coffee with all this bunch of sugar and cream is not good for you. You know what I mean? But the article, the headline is what brings you to the article. So with this, it's not saying protein is bad. It's that now protein is being added on to everything. So, too much of a good thing is not necessarily too good. Where am I at? Sirach 37 in verse 29. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats. Verse 30. For excess of meats bringeth sickness, and suffering will turn into choler. By surfeiting have many perished, but he that taketh heed prolongeth his life. Okay. So just the excess of it all, you know what I mean? Could bring you to, people, like I said, people have died, just going overboard with things. Okay. So the study, it's this, this is studyfinds.org. Protein is being added to yogurt, bread, and even coffee, but is it really good for our health? Protein intake dominates fitness advice. Whether you want to build muscle, improve your improve your fitness, or watch your weight, the common advice handed out by everyone, by fitness influencers to doctors, that we need more protein. But while protein does play an essential role in maintaining our muscle mass and overall health, all this increased attention on the importance of protein in the media and fitness circles sparked a surge in products marked specifically for their protein content. Some chocolate bars, ice cream, pizza, coffee, and even alcoholic beverages now market themselves as protein foods. But our emphasis for protein might have gone too far. While protein is certainly important for our health, most of us don't need these protein-enhanced foods as a regular feature in our diet. Not to mention that this marketing may lead to a halo effect where consumers mistakenly equate high protein content with overall nutritional value. That's important, right? So you see something and it says high in protein, but it's like a pig liver or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Or something that your body you've no need to eat, but you just see that in big sign, high protein. All right, then that means I'm good. It's good for me, right? They'll have something on, food that says all natural ingredients, but that's another, thing that they put on the food that is like, oh, it must be all good then. Nah, it could be gelatin in there. Gelatin's natural, right? So that pork in there, or other things of that nature, right? Vitamin enriched water, you know what I mean? But everything else in the water is terrible for you, So just seeing that sign, that, like I said, the halo effect, just seeing something on the label, you actually got to read the ingredients. And all praise the Most High, we getting closer to Passover, so start doing that now. You know what I mean? Don't go out and buy $400, $500 worth of groceries that got leaven in it, and you can't keep in your house anyway. It's time to start, weaning things down. But also, it's very important, even outside of Passover, to read the ingredients, see what you're eating. If there's 5 things there that you can't even pronounce, you shouldn't be eating it. Okay, let's continue on. This effect can lead to perception of protein-rich foods being inherently nutritious, even though many may not be. Protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass and immune function. Nutrition guidelines recommend people aim to eat around 0.75 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, but some evidence suggests this recommendation may be an underestimate, and that the recommendation should be around 1.2 grams or 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight per day. There also is a strong body of evidence that suggests the amount of protein we need depends on Let me try it again. There's also a strong body of evidence that suggests the amount of protein we need changes depending on our health. For instance, people need to eat more protein when they are recovering from an illness. Research also shows that older adults should be aiming for at least 1.2 kilograms of body weight in order to combat age-related muscle loss. Athletes also need to eat a greater amount of protein to support their training and recovery. Moreover, with this rising popularity of weight loss drugs, strategies increasingly emphasize protein intake to minimize muscle loss while losing weight. Just because protein is good for maintaining muscle mass doesn't mean that more is better. In fact, it seems that even when we consume large amounts of protein, only some of this is actually used by the body. Most of us probably need little more protein than current guidelines suggest, but less is often promoted by wellness influencers on social media, with suggestions we need up to 3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Ironically, the necessary amount of protein suggested by emerging evidence, 1.2, 1.6 per kilogram of body weight per day, is close to what the average protein consumption already is in most Western countries. Most people can probably benefit from being more protein aware, not about how much protein they're consuming, but about the quality and frequency of their protein choices. Ideally, we should aim to consume small amounts of protein-rich foods more often during the day. Current evidence suggests around 20 to 30 grams of protein, around a handful of protein sources at each meal, supports muscle maintenance alongside physical activity. In an ideal world, this protein would come from whole foods such as nuts, seeds, milk, eggs, legumes. Legumes. Saying that wrong, Slakia. But fortified protein products may have their space as a quick and easy snack, especially for those who struggle to eat this much protein at each meal. Is important for these foods in moderation. However, ultra-processed products. Supermarkets are full of protein-enhanced products, but while these products may contain additional protein, they may contain additional sugars or carbohydrates. For example, protein milk often contains double the protein of regular milk. It does this by removing water and adding dry milk. Protein bars are another example, but depending on the brand you choose, alongside their additional protein content, they may be high in sugar. Many protein-fortified products share a common trait. They fall into the category of ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are commercially made products that include ingredients you wouldn't typically find in your own kitchen. Research shows regularly consuming ultra-processed foods is consistently linked to poorer health outcomes, such as cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Current discussions around ultra-processed foods suggest uncertainty regarding whether it's the processing itself, the poor quality of these foods, or the combination of the two. These factors contribute to negative health outcomes. Okay. read a little bit more. Another issue with protein enhanced products is that while they do indeed contain extra protein, some products may lack fiber, vitamins, and essential minerals. A lack of fiber in modern diets is currently one of the biggest contributors to population-wide ill health. All foods have their place with a balanced diet, but protein is only one component of overall nutritional health. The rise of this protein-fortified foods as health foods is concerning. Protein-enriched products are essentially foods that might support meeting protein intake, but they should not be mistaken for universally healthy foods. For people looking to reach their protein goals, choose a variety of protein sources, consider the overall convenience of foods within the context of whole diet, and think about other nutrients and fiber to really maximize health. All right, that is the article. So it's not saying protein is bad, saying too much of, ultra processed foods containing protein could be bad. Make sure you're not eating, late night, have some time for your food to digest before you go to sleep, because a lot of foods we eat is terrible. It's bad for us, and it is affecting our overall health. We got to be on top of things, Israel. Why? Because we're inheriting a kingdom. You understand? We're going to take the kingdom, okay, from these Edomites, and it's going to be ours. We got to be in good shape. You know what I'm saying? So let's put the right foods in our body. Of course, Passover's coming up. You can't eat leaven, right? Ain't no leaven in fruit and vegetables, okay? So get into that. It's that side of things. And as Sabal always says, Issachar for the win. You know what I mean? Check out Issachar products. They're hard shell tacos, and you know what I mean? A lot of that stuff doesn't have leaven in it, but make sure you read the ingredients, okay? Let's continue on. It's going to be our last video, our last segment right here. We're going to talk about Hulk Hogan, our sports and entertainment section. We're going to end on that. Hulk Hogan ain't doing too good. His family's falling apart. Anybody remember Hulk Hogan got caught on the hot mic? I think somebody recorded him. He said nigga more times than your favorite rapper. You understand? So with that in mind, watching this downfall is just all praise to the Most High. Let's go to Sirach 9:11.
Good luck.
Time.
Hey, if you want, I just made it in. I can pick up the reading for you.
Time. Throughout it, King.
I hear that voice getting a little harp. Yeah.
Oh, you hear that? I'm trying to make it pass. Ain't doing too good.
What you call it out again?
Sirach 9 and 11.
This is the book of Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, and Apocrypha, chapter 9 and verse 11. Envy not the glory of a sinner, for thou knowest not what shall be his end.
She's looking at, man, Hulk Hogan. He has little action figures made after him, and he's the face for wrestling and everything. I want to be like that guy. Man, listen, you don't know what the end is going to be, And for right now, it's like his family's falling apart. You think you had problems, you dealing with issues, with your rib or your children not listening or whatever. His problems are blasted out on the internet, on TV. Let's go to Jeremiah 40 and 10 and hold that. We're gonna hold that. We're gonna watch this video.
Hulk Hogan's daughter is lashing out at her famous family with bombshell new claims. I have been extremely verbally and mentally abused since childhood. Sadly, it would frequently turn physical. She doesn't identify the abuser, but goes on to say sometimes it's not by the person you would assume. Abuse comes in all shapes and sizes. The 36-year-old singer also says she made the painful decision to have no contact with either her father or mother. Brooke is speaking out after her mom posted this video sobbing uncontrollably, blaming her ex for the family's problems.
Man, she looks terrible, man. She looks terrible. Apparently, I was come to find out, they're gonna say it on here. Those are Botox injections. You know, I guess they want a fuller skin or fuller lips or something. You know what I mean? Can you imagine having to go through that stuff to look good? You know, our sisters are naturally beautiful. You know, you shouldn't have to I gotta take the skin out of this and put it in my lips and take something out of my butt and put it. That's a lot. But before, they look at these big lip niggers. Look at our women with those big butts. Disgusting. And now look at them. Brazilian butt lifts, Botox injections. Just to look like anything. You know what I'm saying? It's disgusting. Let's keep going.
Family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us. She's had twins. She got married. She didn't tell us. She had twins. She didn't tell us. I haven't talked to her for 7 years, almost 8 years now.
Brooke recently shared photos of her newborn twins with husband, former professional hockey player Stephen Alexi.
I'm sorry. It's so bad.
The 65-year-old, who's usually all glammed up, went barefaced in the shocking video, blaming Botox injections for the bruises on her chin. She also had harsh words for the wrestling great, who's a strong supporter of President Trump.
Trumpomania! Run wild, brother! Let Trumpomania roll again!
He's a complete liar. He is a sex addict.
The family rose to fame on their hit reality TV show in the early 2000s, Hogan Knows Best.
Hogan knows best.
Now this from the battling Hogans.
All these horrible things are going on behind the scenes. It just doesn't get better.
Damn shame, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring that out. Jeremiah 49:10.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 40 and verse 10.
49.
Oh, Salaki. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not.
John. Yeah. So get to see you know, somebody that you know, Trump supporter and everything like that. You know, I'm sure I get these immigrants out of here and we need to build a wall. Man, you might want to take care of home first. You got a daughter that had twins and y'all ain't even know about it until everybody else knew about it. That's a damn shame. You know what I'm saying? You ain't talked to your child in 7 years. Y'all got to do better. But people, you know, see these celebrities and see the money and the, I guess, the glamour and the glitz and all the other stuff. And, you know, oftentimes what comes with that is doing whatever thou wilt, you know. And somebody like Hulk Hogan, who, you know, pretty much outed himself as a racist, you know, I mean, nobody's surprised. Esau, for an Edomite not to be a racist, I don't know where they at, but his was pretty, you know, worldwide, you know, spread across the four corners on the internet. And now, between his wife and his daughter, it seems like ain't all good in the Hogan household, you know? So that's just one example of, you know, when the camera's on, everybody's smiling and hugging and everything. But behind the scenes, it is, you know, for the sinners, for the people that ain't doing what they supposed to be doing, for the Edomites, it's a roller coaster. You know what I mean? But the Most High said, don't worry, I'm gonna expose everything. We gonna make your leg bare. We whole world's gonna see you. So anything that they trying to hide, like we bring it up earlier with Elon Musk and Trump, everything gonna be exposed. Just sit back and watch. Don't get emotionally attached to this place, attached to anything in this place. It's all gonna be burned up to a crisp. Kwame Yashala, we got next. Let's end on the Lord's Prayer. So if you want to stand and face the east, prostrate and face the east, however you want to pray, be my guest. Give you a couple seconds. All right. This is the Lord's Prayer in Paleo Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malachwaka, Taba'a, Ratazayaka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim, Natananawa, Lacham, Kau, Yawam, Wasalaf Nawa, Kabawaf Nawa, Kasalaf Nawa, Kabawaf Nawa, Wala'a, Dabi Nawa, Banasai 1, Abo, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwaf, Wa'ala, Wataparaf, Lai Wilam Yam, Amen. God, in this book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Khan. All right. All praises to Yahweh Hashem and Mashiach Yahushai. We got next. Bring it out. It's going down. Repent and keep the commandments. All right, as you can see, lots going on. We could be here all night talking about everything else that's happening, but we got a certain amount of time to talk about what the Most High is doing on this planet. And trust and believe, it's a lot, okay? So repent, keep the commandments, teach others to do so, and move in the right direction. Stay blessed. Stay in the book. Stay reading. And Most High willing, we'll do this again next week. All right. My voice will be better. And Passover's coming up. Be prepared. Be ready. Get yourself in order. Get yourself ready because, you know, we all know Passover season is a time of sifting, and you know people die. A lot of things happen during Passover season. So prepare yourself for this time period. All right. Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatham. Shalom. Yes.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, can I be heard?
Khan, you want me to get off? I'm on live stream right now.
No. I just want to make the announcement that when Clubhouse is audio only, so that it won't create an echo or a delay when you're communicating. So if anybody wants to come in and participate in the conversation, they need to do it through Zoom.
Okay.
Like when Elder Terah was speaking and he was speaking from Clubhouse, it created a conflict of interest and a delay, and it didn't have a good sound as far as on Clubhouse.
God.
So when everybody want to speak, they need to come in through the Zoom app.
God. The water.
Okay. Like Clubhouse, we just put on the announcement that it's going to be audio only.
God. All right. The water. Everybody have yourself a good night. Pray. Stay focused. We're in the last days. Shalom.